Linchpin, Are You Indispensable? By Seth Godin. Introduction. Imagine a man named Hector. Every morning, long before the sun comes up, he stands on a cold street corner in Queens, New York. He's not alone. Next to him are 6 other men, all bundled up against the chill, all waiting for the same thing, a chance to work. Slowly, a pickup truck pulls up. The contractor inside rolls down his window. He doesn't need someone with a fancy degree or a long resume. He just needs cheap, physical labor. He looks at the men. They all seem the same. Fungible, replaceable. He offers minimum wage, picks 3 at random, and drives away. And Hector is left on the corner, in the cold. Maybe another truck will come. Maybe not. He is one of many, a non-choice. The contractor didn't spend any time on his decision because, to him, it didn't matter who he picked. Now, that story might seem distant, something that happens to other people. But I want you to think about this. In some way, aren't we all standing on that street corner? Your resume sits in a stack with hundreds of others. Your business is one of many that offers the same service. Your cubicle is identical to the one next to it. For generations, we've been taught to fit in, to keep our heads down, to work hard, and to hope we get picked. This was the old deal, the bargain our parents and grandparents made. Be a good, obedient worker in the factory, and the factory will take care of you. But that world is gone. The factories are closing, the rules have changed, and the bargain has been broken. The person who just follows instructions is now the easiest to replace. They are Hector, waiting on the corner. But what if there's another way? What if you could become the person they can't live without, the one they build the team around? The one who isn't just a cog in the machine, but the pin that holds the entire thing together. A linchpin. Today, we're going to explore a powerful manifesto written by the brilliant Seth Godin. It's a book that has sold millions of copies and has fundamentally changed how people think about their work and their lives. By the end of our time together, you will understand the secret to becoming indispensable. It's not about working more hours or having a higher IQ. It's about making a choice. A choice to stop being a cog and start being an artist. And the best part is, you don't even have to quit your job to do it. Book summary. For over 100 years, our world ran on a simple, seductive promise. You could call it the take care of you bargain. It went like this: go to school. Pay attention. Learn to follow instructions. Show up on time and work hard. In exchange for your obedience and your time, we, the system, the company, the factory, will take care of you. We'll give you a steady paycheck, health insurance, and job security. You won't have to be a brilliant creative genius or take scary risks. Just be a reliable part of the machine. And for a long time, it worked. This was the American dream. We built our schools to train compliant workers, and our companies grew into giants by hiring them. Whether you were making widgets, processing insurance claims, or even answering phones, you were working in a factory. The goal was to make every worker a replaceable part, a cog in a vast, efficient machine. Because if you're easy to replace, you're cheaper to pay. But that era is over. It died so quietly that many of us didn't even notice. Technology and global competition arrived, and they could do the work of a compliant cog faster and cheaper than any human ever could. Suddenly, the people who followed all the rules found themselves with stagnant wages, disappearing pensions, and the constant stress of being laid off. The bargain was a scam. The safe path had become the riskiest path of all. So, where does that leave us? It leaves us with a choice. A choice that Seth Godin lays out with crystal clarity. You can either race to the bottom, trying to be the cheapest and most obedient cog you can be, always looking over your shoulder. Or, you can race to the top. You can choose to become a linchpin. So what is a linchpin? A linchpin isn't just an employee. They are the essential building block of any great organization. They are the person you can't imagine the place without. They bring originality, passion, and humanity to their work. They are, in a word, indispensable. Think about the best CEO you can imagine, someone like Steve Jobs at Apple. Of course, he was a linchpin. But Godin argues that this isn't just for the people at the top. What about the guy at the local vegetable stand who knows your name and always picks out the best avocado for you? He's the reason you go there instead of the giant, faceless supermarket. He's a linchpin. What about the customer service rep who doesn't just read a script but actually listens and solves your problem with empathy and creativity? She just turned an angry customer into a loyal fan. She's a linchpin. Linchpins are artists. Now, when I say that, I need you to throw out your idea of a painter with a beret. Godin has a much bigger, more powerful definition of art. He says, art is a personal gift that changes the recipient. It's any original act of courage and humanity that creates a change in another person. A cook follows a recipe. A chef, on the other hand, invents a new dish that creates a moment of joy and surprise. The chef is an artist. A telemarketer reads a script. A great salesperson connects with a client, understands their fears, and builds a relationship of trust. That salesperson is an artist. Art isn't about the substance, the paint, the marble, the words. It's about intent and connection. It's about bringing your full human self to the table and creating an interaction that can't be scripted. It's about doing what Godin calls emotional labor. Physical labor is lifting a box. Emotional labor is the hard work of dealing with people's feelings, and your own. It's the work of calming an angry customer, inspiring a tired team, or staring into a sea of infinite choices and having the courage to pick a path. It's the work of giving a genuine gift of your energy and insight, with no guarantee of reciprocation. For generations, we were taught to leave our art and our emotions at home. The factory didn't want them. The factory wanted you to be a machine. But now, the machines are being run by actual machines. The only thing left that humans can do better is be human. Emotional labor is the one thing that can't be outsourced. It's the core of the linchpin's work. This all sounds great, doesn't it? Be an artist. Be indispensable. But if it's so simple, why doesn't everyone just do it? Because we've been indoctrinated. And because there's a powerful force inside each of us working to stop us. First, the indoctrination. Think about school. What were you really taught? You were taught to sit in straight rows. To raise your hand to speak. To follow instructions. To cram for tests and spit back the right answers. To use a 2-pencil. Godin argues that our school system was never designed to create artists, leaders, or innovators. It was designed, quite deliberately, over 100 years ago by industrialists who needed one thing: a steady supply of obedient, compliant factory workers. School taught us that the goal is to get an A by not making mistakes. To fit in. To not ask too many questions. To do the minimum required to get by. But which of those skills is the key to being indispensable? None of them. In fact, they are the very skills that guarantee you will be a replaceable cog. The problem isn't the teachers, it's the system. A system designed for an economy that no longer exists. But there's an even deeper, more personal enemy we have to face. Seth Godin calls it the resistance. He borrows the term from the writer Stephen Pressfield, and it's one of the most important ideas you will ever encounter. The resistance is that voice in the back of your head. It's the primal, ancient part of your brain that Godin calls the lizard brain. The lizard brain cares about only four things: fighting, fleeing, feeding, and reproducing. Its only job is to keep you safe. And to the lizard brain, safe means hidden, invisible, unchanged. The resistance is the voice of the lizard brain. It's the force that invents procrastination, self-doubt, and a million rational-sounding excuses to stop you from doing your art. Why didn't you speak up at that meeting yesterday? The resistance. Why is that brilliant idea still sitting in a notebook instead of out in the world? The resistance. Why do you check your email 45 times an hour instead of doing the hard, creative work? The resistance. The resistance is terrified of you standing out. It's afraid people will laugh at you. It's afraid you'll fail. And here's the crazy part, it's also afraid you'll succeed. Because if you succeed, you'll have to do it again. You'll have to top it. Your world will change, and change is dangerous. The lizard brain hates danger. So it whispers in your ear. You're not qualified enough. You don't have the right degree. Your boss will never let you. Someone will steal your idea. Wait until tomorrow. The resistance is the source of writer's block, but also of salesperson's block, leader's block, and artist's block. It loves committees because they kill action. It loves excessive research because it feels productive but prevents you from ever having to make a decision. It loves criticizing the work of others because it raises the bar so high you'll be too scared to even try. The tragedy is that you don't need more genius. You have plenty of genius inside of you. What you need is less resistance. The linchpin has learned to recognize that voice. They feel the fear, they acknowledge it, and then they do the work anyway. They know that the more fear they feel, the more important the work probably is. The resistance becomes a compass. The thing you are most afraid to do is almost certainly the thing you most need to do. So how do you fight the resistance? How do you quiet the lizard brain and let your art out into the world? Godin gives us a powerful set of tools and mindsets. The first and most important is the mantra, real artists ship. To ship means to finish what you start and put it out into the world. It's hitting publish on your blog post. It's giving the presentation. It's launching the product. It's having the conversation. Your art doesn't count if it stays in your head. The only purpose of starting is to finish. The resistance loves perfectionism because it's the best excuse in the world for never shipping. You can tweak and polish and revise forever, waiting for the perfect moment that will never come. But real artists don't do that. They ship. Saturday Night Live goes on every week, ready or not. It's live. There are no do-overs. Sometimes the show isn't perfect, but the discipline of shipping every single week is what makes it great. Picasso painted over 1,000 paintings. You can probably name 3 of them. He shipped. I've written over a dozen books. Most of them didn't sell very well. But if I hadn't shipped those, I never would have had the chance to write the ones that did. Shipping is a habit. It's a commitment to colliding your work with the outside world. An idea that's not shipped is just a regret. The second tool of the linchpin is understanding the power of gifts. Our capitalist society has trained us to think of every interaction as a transaction. A day's work for a day's pay. I'll give you this if you give me that. It's clean, it's simple, and it keeps us separate. No one washes a rental car before they return it. Why? Because it's a transaction. Avis is not part of our tribe. But linchpins operate in a different economy, the gift economy. A gift is not a transaction. A gift is voluntary, and it binds people together. When you give a true gift, you don't expect an immediate, one-to-one repayment. The magic is that the gift creates a connection and a sense of abundance. When you, as an employee, Go the extra mile for a customer, not because your boss is watching, but because you genuinely want to? That's a gift. The customer feels it. They can't repay you in that moment, but that interaction strengthens their bond with the company. When you share your knowledge freely with a coworker, that's a gift. It strengthens your team. For hundreds of years, power was about receiving gifts. Kings and lords were the ones who got things. But in the new economy, power is about giving gifts. The person who is the most generous, with their insight, their energy, their art, is the one who becomes indispensable. They become the center of the tribe. Think about the internet. Why does someone post a helpful video on YouTube for free? Why does someone answer a stranger's question in a forum? It's a gift. And as that gift spreads, it builds a reputation, it builds a following, it builds a tribe. The generosity comes first, and the benefits, whether it's a job offer, a new client, or just respect, follow. Artists give gifts. They create their art not just for the money, but because they feel compelled to share it, to change people. That's why you can't rip off an artist for long. You can take their gift and not pay them fairly once. But smart organizations know that if you're lucky enough to have a generous artist on your team, you should pay them as much as you can. Because if you don't, someone else will. The final, and perhaps most challenging, tool of the linchpin is the ability to work without a map. The resistance screams at us, "Tell me what to do." We crave instructions because if we're just following someone else's map, it's not our fault if we get lost. The map insulates us from responsibility and from blame. But Godin's most radical message is this: there is no map. For the work that matters, there can't be a map. Art is the act of navigating without a map. Leadership is the act of drawing a new map for others to follow. If there were a step-by-step guide to being a leader or an artist, it wouldn't be leadership or art. It would be a recipe. It would be factory work. The value you create is in the moments when you have to make a judgment call, when there is no rule book, when you have to see the world as it truly is and invent a path forward. This requires a skill the Buddhists call prajna, the ability to see things clearly, without attachment to the outcome. It's the ability to look at a crisis not as a personal attack, but with a calm curiosity that says, "Isn't that interesting?" Remember Richard Branson, stuck at the airport when his flight was canceled? He didn't scream at the gate agent. He didn't whine. He looked at the world as it was. A plane full of people who wanted to get home. A charter desk across the way. He saw the situation without the baggage of anger and frustration. He drew a new map, chartered a plane, sold tickets to his fellow passengers, and got everyone home. That is the work of a linchpin. So, this brings us to the core of it all. Godin identifies 7 key abilities that linchpins possess. But they aren't talents you're born with. They are skills you can choose to develop. 1. Providing a unique interface. You are the bridge between departments or between the company and the customer. You are a master of connection. 2. Delivering unique creativity. You don't just have ideas, you have the passion to ship them. 3. Managing complexity. When everyone else is overwhelmed, you are the one who can see the path through the chaos. 4. Leading customers. You don't just sell to customers. You educate them, connect them, and build a tribe. 5. Inspiring staff. You create forward motion. Your passion and energy are contagious. 6. Providing deep domain knowledge. You know your field so well that you can see the future and help draw the map. 7. Possessing a unique talent. This is your superpower. It's not just something you're good at, it's something you've chosen to become the best in the world at. You don't have to have all 7. But you have to have something that makes you different, something that makes you worth finding and keeping. So, What do you do if you try all this and it doesn't work? What if you give your gift and people don't appreciate it? What if you make your art and people laugh? You make more art. You learn from what happened, and you do it again. The only alternative is to give up and go back to being a cog. And that is the only true failure. Trying and failing is how you become an artist. And it gives you the right to try again. And what about that most common excuse of all, my boss won't let me? Godin says that 9 times out of 10, this is just the resistance talking. Your boss is probably desperate for you to step up, to show some initiative, to bring your real self to work. And that 1 time out of 10 when it's true, when you really do work for an organization that punishes art and enforces mediocrity, then you have to ask yourself a hard question: why are you still there? You are not your resume. You are your work. Your projects are the new resume. In a world where anyone can Google you, your reputation is built on the art you ship and the gifts you give. This is the new American dream. It's not about keeping your head down and following instructions. It's about being remarkable, being generous, creating art, making judgment calls, connecting people and ideas. When you do that, the world has no choice but to reward you. Not just with money, but with respect, with freedom, and with the security that comes from knowing you are truly indispensable. Commentary. So, what do we take away from all this? For me, the most powerful and liberating idea in Linchpin is the separation of your job from your work. Your job is what they pay you for: the tasks, the instructions, the meetings. But your work, your real work, is your art. It's the gift you choose to bring. It's the emotional labor you invest. It's the part of you that can't be put in a manual. And you can do your work, your art, from any job. You can be an artist as a barista, a banker, a programmer, or a janitor. It's not about your title, it's about your attitude. It's about the choice you make when no one is telling you what to do. The book is also a profound diagnosis of a kind of anxiety that I think everyone, especially young people, feels today. The pressure to fit in, to build the perfect resume, to follow the approved path. Godin gives us permission to reject that. He tells us that the very things that make us feel weird or different are the source of our greatest strength. Your quirkiness, your unique perspective, that's not a bug, it's a feature. It's the source of your art. And finally, there's the beautiful, empowering concept of the resistance. Naming it, understanding it, is like turning on a light in a dark room. You realize that the self-doubt, the procrastination, the fear, it's not a personal failing. It's a primal, biological force that everyone has to fight. It's the lizard brain trying to keep you safe in a world that no longer rewards safety. And once you see it for what it is, you can start to fight back. You can learn to dance with the fear. So, if this has sparked something in you, here are a few simple things you can try, starting today. First, do one small thing that is not in your job description. Clean up a mess you didn't make. Help a coworker who is struggling, without being asked. Send a note of appreciation to a customer. Just one small, unasked-for gift. See how it feels. Second, identify one small thing you're afraid to do, and do it. Maybe it's speaking up in a meeting. Maybe it's sharing a creative idea. Maybe it's just making eye contact and smiling at a stranger. The act of moving toward the fear, even in a small way, is how you start to build the muscle of courage. And third, ship something. It doesn't have to be perfect. Write that email you've been putting off. Finish that one-page proposal. Make that phone call. Just finish one small thing and put it out into the world. That's how you build momentum. That was a deep dive into Linchpin by Seth Godin. We've explored the core ideas today, but I have to be honest with you, a summary, no matter how detailed, can only give you a glimpse of the real thing. The true power of a book like this comes alive when you read it for yourself. It's in the quiet moments, when one of Godin's stories or a single simple sentence connects with you in a way you never expected. This summary is meant to be a map to a hidden treasure. If anything we've talked about today has resonated with you, I encourage you to seek out that treasure. Reading it isn't just about learning, it's an experience that can genuinely change how you view your work, your art, and your own potential. The link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Your support helps us keep growing together.